The perfect facade. Sophia Chon adjusted the clasp of her pearl necklace one final time before descending the marble staircase of their Westchester home. The soft click of her heels echoed through the foyer, a sound that had become as familiar as breathing over the past 6 years of marriage. Tonight was the annual Riverside Children's Hospital charity dinner, and appearances mattered more than ever. "You're finally ready," Marcus called from the living room, not bothering to look up from his phone. His tone carried that particular edge she'd grown accustomed to, not quite criticism, but close enough to make her stomach tighten. "I was beginning to think we'd be fashionably late again." She entered the room where her husband sat in his perfectly tailored tuxedo, his salt and pepper hair styled to perfection. At 36, Marcus Reed commanded attention wherever he went. Investment banking had been good to him, and he wore success like a second skin. The problem was, he expected everyone around him to reflect that same flawless image. "I'm sorry. The zipper got stuck," Sophia explained, smoothing down her navy evening gown. She'd chosen it carefully elegant, but not attention-grabbing, expensive, but not ostentatious. Everything had to be calculated with Marcus. He finally looked up, his gray eyes scanning her from head to toe. "The dress is fine, but maybe next time we should discuss your outfit choices beforehand. Image matters in my line of work." You know, there it was, the subtle dig wrapped in practical concern. Sophia had learned to recognize these moments over the years. Her own career as marketing director at Brennan & Associates, a respected boutique agency, somehow always seemed diminished in conversations with Marcus. While she managed campaigns for major nonprofits and had recently landed their biggest client, Marcus had a way of making her accomplishments feel small. "Of course," she replied, forcing a smile. "Should we head out?" The drive to the riverside country club passed in comfortable silence. Marcus focused on return calls, while Sophia watched the autumn landscape blur past her window. She thought about the presentation she'd given that afternoon, how the client had praised her innovative approach to their sustainability campaign. The rush of professional validation still lingered, a warm feeling she'd learned to savor privately. The country club's grand ballroom buzzed with the energy of New York's social elite. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over tables adorned with white roses and gold accents. Sophia recognized faces from magazines and news programs. This was Marcus's world, where deals were made over champagne and charity became a networking opportunity. "Marcus, wonderful to see you." James Thornton approached them with his wife Carolyn. James, Marcus's business partner, had organized tonight's event. "And Sophia, you look lovely as always." "Thank you, James. The decorations are beautiful," Sophia replied warmly. She genuinely liked Caroline, who ran a successful interior design firm and always treated her as an equal. "Oh, that's all Caroline's doing," James beamed. "She has the real talent in our family," Marcus chuckled. "Well, we can't all be blessed with artistic wives." Sophia keeps busy with her little marketing projects. The word little hit like a small slap. Sophia's smile faltered for just a moment before she recovered. Caroline's eyes narrowed slightly. She'd caught it too. "Actually, Sophia just landed the Morrison Foundation account," Carolyn said firmly. "That's huge in the nonprofit sector." "Oh, yes," Marcus waved dismissively. "Sophia's always working on something, though I keep telling her she doesn't need to work so hard. It's not like we need the money." As they moved toward their table, Sophia felt the familiar weight of diminishment settling over her shoulders. This was how it always went, her achievements minimized, her worth reduced to decoration. But tonight, something felt different. Maybe it was the way Carolyn had defended her, or the confidence she'd felt during that afternoon's presentation. Whatever it was, a small spark of resistance flickered to life in her chest. She didn't know it yet, but that spark would soon become a fire that would change everything. Cracks in the foundation. Diana Walsh pushed through the revolving door of the sleek Manhattan office building, her press badge swinging from a rainbow lanyard that would have made Marcus cringe. At 28, Sophia's younger sister had inherited the same delicate features and dark hair, but where Sophia had learned to dim her light, Diana burned bright and unapologetic. Sophie. Diana's voice echoed across the marble lobby as she spotted her sister emerging from the elevator bank. They embraced warmly, Diana's vintage leather jacket a stark contrast to Sophia's tailored blazer. "I can't believe you're finally visiting the office," Sophia said, leading her toward the reception desk. "Though I should warn you, it's not as glamorous as Marcus's world." Diana's eyebrows shot up. "Since when do you talk like that?" "Your work is incredible, Sophie. That piece you did for the Ocean Conservation Group last year? It was featured in 3 journalism courses I know about." Heat rose in Sophia's cheeks. When had she started automatically diminishing her own accomplishments? Marcus says a lot of things," Diana interrupted gently. "But what do you say?" The question hung in the air as they toured Brennan and Associates. Diana met Sophia's colleagues, all of whom spoke glowingly about her sister's creativity and leadership. Sarah Brennan, the agency's founder, pulled Diana aside. "Your sister is one of the most talented directors I've ever worked with," Sarah confided. "Honestly, she could start her own firm tomorrow and take half our clients with her. I keep waiting for her to realize her own worth." Later, over coffee at their favorite cafe near Central Park, Diana broached the subject that had been weighing on her mind since her last visit 6 months ago. "Sophie, can I ask you something without you getting defensive?" Sophia stirred her latte nervously. "That's never a good way to start a conversation. When did you stop laughing?" The question was so unexpected that Sophia nearly dropped her cup. "What do you mean?" "I laugh all the time." "No, you smile. You make polite sounds. But that real laugh, the one that used to make Mom threaten to separate us at family dinners, when's the last time I heard that?" Sophia stared out the window, watching couples stroll hand in hand through the autumn leaves. "I don't know what you're talking about. Remember when you first started dating Marcus? You'd call me every day, so excited about this charming guy who took you to gallery openings and brought you flowers. You said he made you feel like the most interesting person in the room." "He still does," Sophia said quietly, but even she could hear how hollow it sounded. Diana leaned forward. "Sophie, last time I was at your house, you apologized for everything. You apologized for the coffee being too strong, for the weather being cloudy, for your phone ringing during dinner. You even apologized for wearing a red sweater because Marcus mentioned he preferred you in blue. That's not, 'I was just being considerate.' No, you were walking on eggshells. And the way he talks to you." Diana's voice grew heated. "At dinner, when you mentioned getting promoted to senior director, he actually said, 'Well, it's a small agency, so senior director probably means something different there.'" Sophia's chest tightened. She remembered that moment, the way her excitement had deflated like a punctured balloon. He was just being realistic. "My company isn't Goldman Sachs." "Your company doesn't need to be Goldman Sachs for your success to matter." Diana's voice cracked with frustration. "Sophie, you used to dream of changing the world through marketing. You wanted to help nonprofits tell their stories, make people care about causes that mattered. Remember your college thesis on ethical advertising?" Tears pricked at Sophia's eyes. She did remember staying up until dawn, passionate about the power of communication to create social change. When had that fire dimmed to barely glowing embers? "Things change when you're married," she whispered. "You have to compromise." "Compromise?" "Yes. Disappear? No." Diana reached across the table and took her sister's hands. "I've been researching emotional abuse for an article I'm writing. It's not always screaming and throwing things. Sometimes it's subtler constant criticism disguised as helpful suggestions, minimizing achievements, making someone question their own reality. Sophia pulled her hands away. Marcus isn't abusive. He's never laid a finger on me. Physical abuse isn't the only kind that leaves scars, Sophie. That evening, Sophia sat in her pristine kitchen, Diana's words echoing in her mind. She pulled out her laptop and, almost without conscious thought, began scrolling through her old college portfolio. Project after project showcased her passion, her vision, her belief that marketing could be a force for good. When Marcus arrived home, she was still sitting there, tears streaming down her face as she read her own words from 7 years ago. I want to amplify the voices of those who need to be heard most. What's all this? Marcus asked, loosening his tie as he glanced at her screen. Just some old work, she said, quickly closing the laptop. Well, don't let it keep you up too late. We have the charity dinner tomorrow night, and I need you looking your best. James's wife always looks so polished. We can't have you appearing tired. As he headed upstairs, Sophia reopened her laptop. For the first time in years, she really looked at the woman she used to be, confident, ambitious, ready to take on the world. Somewhere along the way, that woman had been systematically dismantled, piece by piece, comment by comment. But maybe, just maybe, she wasn't completely gone. The breaking point? James Thornton adjusted his bow tie for the third time, surveying the elegant ballroom with the practiced eye of someone who had hosted dozens of charity events. At 45, he had learned that success in investment banking required more than financial acumen. It demanded an understanding of social dynamics, the delicate balance of egos that kept New York's elite writing checks for worthy causes. Everything looks perfect, darling, Carolyn said, appearing beside him in a stunning emerald gown. The silent auction alone should raise $200,000. Marcus and Sophia just arrived, James noted, watching his business partner navigate through the crowd. He had known Marcus for 8 years, respected his financial mind, but had always found something unsettling about the way he interacted with his wife. She looks lovely tonight. Carolyn followed his gaze. She always does, though she seems more subdued each time I see her. The evening progressed smoothly through cocktails and the first course. James delivered his opening remarks about the Children's Hospital, and the auction proceeded with enthusiastic bidding. It wasn't until the testimonial portion of the evening that things began to shift. Dr. Rebecca Martinez, the hospital's head of pediatric oncology, had just finished speaking about their new treatment wing when James noticed Sophia rising from her seat. She moved to the small stage with quiet grace, her hands trembling slightly as she approached the microphone. I wasn't scheduled to speak tonight, she began, her voice soft but clear. But James and Caroline's generosity inspired me to share something personal. James exchanged a glance with Carolyn. This wasn't in the program. 3 months ago, my niece Emma was diagnosed with leukemia. She's only 6 years old. Sophia's voice grew stronger. When my sister called me from the hospital, terrified and alone, I realized how fortunate we are to have institutions like Riverside that treat children with such compassion and expertise. A murmur of sympathy rippled through the audience. James could see tears glistening in several guests' eyes. Emma is in remission now, Sophia continued, but the experience changed me. It reminded me why I became a marketing director, to help organizations that make a real difference tell their stories. That's why I'm donating my services to redesign the hospital's outreach campaign, pro bono. The applause was immediate and heartfelt. James found himself genuinely moved, not just by her generosity, but by the passion in her voice, something he hadn't heard from Sophia in years. But as she began to step away from the microphone, Marcus's voice cut through the applause like a blade. Well, let's not get carried away here. The room fell silent. Marcus had risen from his seat, his smile charming, but his eyes cold. My wife has a generous heart, but she tends to overestimate her capabilities. Designing a few non-profit brochures hardly qualifies as a major marketing overhaul. James felt his stomach drop. The silence in the room was deafening, the kind of awkward quiet that made everyone examine their wine glasses with sudden fascination. "Marcus," Carolyn whispered, urgently from beside him, but Marcus was just getting started. "Don't get me wrong," Marcus continued, his tone conversational, as if he were discussing the weather. "Sophia plays at marketing like other wives play at book clubs. It keeps her busy, gives her something to talk about at parties. But let's be realistic about what we're offering here." The cruelty was breathtaking in its casualness. James watched Sophia's face. She didn't crumble or flee. Instead, something shifted in her expression, a hardening that reminded him of steel cooling after being forged. The hospital would be getting professional services worth $50,000, she said quietly, her voice carrying perfectly. In the silent room, from someone who has increased client engagement by an average of 300% over the past 5 years, Marcus laughed, actually laughed. "Sweetheart, you're embarrassing yourself. These people understand real business. They don't need you inflating your little art projects." Dr. Martinez, still standing near the podium, stepped forward. "Ms. Chun, we would be honored to work with you. Your reputation in the nonprofit sector is exemplary." "Oh, please," Marcus waved dismissively. "She arranges photos and picks color schemes. It's hardly brain surgery, or even real marketing, for that matter." The silence that followed was different now, not awkward, but pointed. James could see faces around the room registering shock, embarrassment, and in some cases, recognition. He realized with dawning horror that many of these people had witnessed similar moments before, smaller indignities that they had chosen to ignore. Not Margaret Westbrook, a 70-year-old philanthropist known for her sharp tongue, broke the silence. "Marcus, darling, you're making an ass of yourself." But it was too late. The damage was done, broadcast in front of 200 of New York's most connected individuals. Social media was already buzzing. James could see phones discreetly emerging from purses and jacket pockets. Sophia remained standing by the podium, her chin raised, her smile serene. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm and clear. "Thank you all for your support of the Children's Hospital. I look forward to working with Dr. Martinez to help tell the stories that matter most." She walked back to her table with perfect composure, gathered her small evening purse, and headed for the exit. Marcus hurried after her, his face flushed, with what James hoped was shame, but suspected was merely anger at being publicly contradicted. As they disappeared through the ballroom doors, the murmur of conversation gradually resumed, but the evening's spell was broken. James found himself thinking about power dynamics, about the small cruelties that happened in plain sight, witnessed and ignored by people who should know better. Carolyn appeared at his elbow. "That poor woman." James nodded, still staring at the door where Sophia had exited. "I have a feeling," he said quietly, "that we just witnessed something more significant than we realize." He was right. By morning, everything would change. The announcement. Lily Park had been awake since 4 in the morning, her phone buzzing incessantly on the nightstand of her Brooklyn apartment. As a social media strategist who managed campaigns for Fortune 500 companies, she was accustomed to crisis management, but the flood of messages about her best friend was unprecedented. "Sophie, please call me," she had texted for the 5th time. "Twitter is going insane." The videos from the charity dinner had started appearing around midnight. Shaky phone footage of Marcus's public humiliation of Sophia, posted by guests who couldn't resist sharing the train wreck moment. By dawn, #CharityDinnerCringe was trending, and every major gossip blog had picked up the story. Lily's phone finally rang at 7 a.m. I need your help. Sophia's voice was steady, but Lily could hear the exhaustion underneath. Where are you? Are you okay? I'm at Diana's apartment. Marcus. Isa? He's very angry about the attention. But Lily, I need to do something. I can't let his version of last night become the narrative. Lily pulled on her jeans, already reaching for her laptop. What are you thinking? I want to make a statement. Not defensive, not angry. Just honest. Can you help me? I'll be there in 20 minutes. Diana's small apartment in the village was a sanctuary of warm colors and eclectic furniture that felt like a hug after the sterile perfection of Sophia's Westchester home. When Lily arrived, she found Sophia sitting at the kitchen table, still, in her silk pajamas, staring at a blank document on her laptop screen. I've been sitting here for an hour, Sophia admitted. I keep starting and deleting. How do you sum up 6 years of your life disappearing in a single post? Diana emerged from the kitchen with coffee, her journalist instincts clearly activated. Maybe that's the problem. You're trying to explain everything instead of just stating what happens next. Lily nodded, settling beside Sophia. Diana's right. People don't need the whole story. They witnessed what they needed to see last night. This isn't about Marcus. It's about you. For the next 2 hours, they crafted and recrafted the message. Lily's expertise in viral content merged with Diana's storytelling skills and Sophia's newfound clarity about her own worth. They debated every word, every implication, every possible reaction. I don't want sympathy, Sophia said firmly as they reviewed the latest draft. I don't want to be seen as a victim. I want people to see strength. Then show them, Lily replied. Show them who you're becoming, not who you were. By noon, they had their statement. Sophia read it aloud one final time. After years of diminishing myself to fit someone else's narrative, I'm choosing a different story. Today marks the beginning of my next chapter 1, where my voice matters, my work has value, and my dreams take up space. To everyone who has ever felt smaller than they are, you deserve to take up space too. Here's to new beginnings and the courage to claim them. #MyVoiceMatters. The photo had been Lily's idea, not a professional headshot, but something authentic. They had gone to the rooftop of Diana's building, where Sophia stood against the backdrop of the city skyline, her hair loose around her shoulders, wearing a simple white sweater that caught the afternoon light. She wasn't smiling in the manufactured way she had perfected over the years. Instead, her expression was serene, determined, real. You sure about this? Diana asked as Sophia's finger hovered over the post button on her phone. Once this goes live, there's no taking it back. Sophia looked at her sister, then at Lily, then back at the screen. I've been taking things back my whole marriage. Apologies for speaking up, backing down from my own opinions, making myself smaller so Marcus could feel bigger. I'm done taking things back. She pressed post simultaneously across Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. The response was immediate. Within minutes, likes and comments began flooding in. Lily watched the metrics with professional fascination and personal pride as the post gained momentum. Holy shit, Sophie, she breathed, refreshing the feed. Margaret Westbrook just shared. And Carolyn Thornton. And, wait, is that Dr. Martinez from the hospital? Diana leaned over Lily's shoulder, reading comments aloud. Thank you for your courage. I needed to see this today. Your work at the Morrison Foundation changed everything for us. Her voice caught. Sophie, listen to this one. I watched my mother shrink herself for 30 years. Thank you for showing my daughter a different way. By evening, the post had been shared thousands of times. News outlets were calling it a masterclass in dignified response to public humiliation. Career coaches were using it as an example of professional boundary setting. Most importantly, other women were sharing their own stories of reclaiming their voices. Eleanor Martinez, CEO of Pinnacle Marketing Group and a legend in the industry, had personally reached out through LinkedIn with a simple message. Let's talk. I have a proposition that might interest you. As Sophia read the message aloud, her phone rang. Marcus. Don't answer it, Diana said immediately. Sophia looked at the screen, watching her husband's name flash repeatedly. For 6 years, she would have answered on the first ring, already formulating apologies for whatever she had done wrong. Instead, she declined the call and blocked the number. That felt surprisingly good, she said, and for the first time in hours, maybe years, she laughed. Not the polite, measured sound she had perfected, but the real laugh Diana had been missing. The laugh of a woman who had just remembered who she used to be and was excited to discover who she might become. The transformation had begun. New Horizons. Eleanor Martinez had built Pinnacle Marketing Group from a one-woman consulting firm into a global powerhouse. And at 52, she had developed an eye for recognizing authentic leadership. As she read Sophia's viral post 4, the third time that morning, she knew she was looking at exactly the kind of talent her company needed. Get me a meeting with Sophia Chun, she told her assistant. Today, if possible. The coffee shop Eleanor chose was deliberately low-key. Small place in Soho where they could talk without interruption. When Sophia arrived, Eleanor was struck by the transformation visible even in her posture. Gone was the diminished woman she'd observed at industry events over the years. I'll be direct, Eleanor said after they'd ordered. I've been following your work for 2 years. The campaigns you've created have redefined nonprofit marketing, and frankly, you're wasted at Brennan and Associates. Sophia's eyes widened. You know my work? The Ocean Conservation Series? Brilliant. The Morrison Foundation? Rebrand? Revolutionary. You increased their donations by 400%. Eleanor leaned forward. I'm offering you a position as creative director at Pinnacle, leading our social impact division. Full autonomy, unlimited budget for the right projects, and a salary that reflects your actual worth. The number Eleanor mentioned made Sophia's breath catch. It was 3 times what Marcus made at his investment firm. I also want to discuss something else, Eleanor continued. Your story yesterday resonated with millions of people. I think you have a unique opportunity to build something bigger than traditional marketing. What if we created a platform specifically for women reclaiming their professional voices? Over the following weeks, Sophia's life transformed with breathtaking speed. The divorce papers were filed with dignity and precision. Her new position at Pinnacle came with a corner office overlooking Madison Avenue and a team of 12 talented strategists eager to change the world through purposeful marketing. The Reclaim Your Voice initiative launched 3 months later, combining marketing mentorship with advocacy for women in corporate environments. Major corporations lined up to partner with them, recognizing both the business opportunity and their responsibility to address workplace dynamics that had been ignored too long. Sophia's first keynote speech was at the Women in Leadership Summit, where she stood before an audience of 800 professionals. As she looked out at the faces, some hopeful, some determined, some still carrying the weight of diminishment she knew so well, she thought about the woman who had walked into that charity dinner 6 months ago. I used to apologize for taking up space, she began, her voice clear and strong. Today, I want to talk about why the world needs us to take up more. The standing ovation lasted 4 minutes later that evening, as Sophia sat in her new apartment, a bright, airy space in the village filled with her own chosen colors and textures. She video called Diana and Lily. So, Diana grinned from the screen. Any regrets about becoming a social media sensation? Sophia looked around her living room, at the awards lining her shelves, at the vision board covered with goals that were actually hers. Her phone showed 17 missed calls from journalists wanting interviews, 5 collaboration requests from major brands, and a text from Eleanor about a potential book deal. "Just one," she said, smiling. "I regret waiting so long to remember who I was." The woman who had once apologized for her own existence now spent her days amplifying voices that deserved to be heard. She had learned that the most powerful response to being diminished wasn't revenge, it was refusing to stay small, and she would never be small again.